of the 19th century. And much of his work, he really believed this was a personal act, but it was also a deeply political act, and that the survival of African Americans in this culture during that period hinged on sobriety as they moved out of slavery. This is an illustration from this is the Keeley Leagues in 1890. I love the sign. I have to admit, one of the real joys you have in this archival research is you can wade through, dusty, battered boxes for hours through garbage. And then all of a sudden you open a package that hasn't been opened in 60 years in some archive, and you find a photograph like this. And it says, the law must recognize that leading fact, medical, not penal treatment reforms the drunkard. I discovered this in the middle of the 1990s when we were trying to incarcerate our way out of a cocaine addiction problem in this country. And I thought, maybe it's time I just sort of reproduce this and ran it around to every policy and law enforcement person in the country. Faith-based. People, we're going to talk about faith-based recovery in the United States. And I want to go back and talk a little bit about the birth of that. Actually, it starts pretty early, but we don't have much details. What we do know in colonies like Virginia, for your first arrest for drunkenness, you would be privately rebuked. For the second offense, you would be publicly rebuked, including wearing a D on your clothing for drunkard. The third offense, depending on where you were at, is you would get referred either to a physician or a clergy, but most of the time to a clergy. And what's our assumption here? The assumption here is a kind of moral framework of excessive drinking is a sin. That sin would only be amenable to religious salvation, and therefore the person who would be culturally responsible for this problem would be the clergy. So we get these early referrals, but we don't have evidence of faith-based recovery mutual aids this early at all. But we do get evidence of this beginning in the 1870s. One of the pioneers for this movement was Jerry McCauley. Jerry McCauley was an alcoholic most of his adult life. He was arrested for highway robbery and imprisoned in Sing Sing prison. While he was in prison, he met another alcoholic by the name of Orville Awful Gardner, who became famous for having bitten a man's ear off in the boxing ring. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, but let's go. I don't want to go there. Jerry encounters Orville, who basically checked his alcoholism through a conversion to Christianity. When Gardner left, he went to New York City and he started an organization called the Drunkards Club. And in the Drunkards Club, more than 400 recovering alcoholics a day came into what today we'd call a clubhouse, right?